What's good, people? It's your boy, Uncle Fred, back in the house, back in the saddle. Hit that like, comment, and subscribe. And we just going right in. I'm not giving you my Uncle Fred bumper music or any of that, man. Uh, Look here, man. It's sometimes, man, it's tough to be a Cowboy fan. It's tough to be a Cowboy fan, and um, have the ownership that we have, and sort of the expectations that we have put upon us. And a lot of that is self-inflicted because there are people that wish for us to continue to be high profile. Everything's done in front of the cameras and that sort of thing. So when things go left, it's right there in front for everybody to see. Um, so anybody that don't know, got your head in the sand. I know it's 2 in the morning, but I had to get this off my chest before I went to bed tonight. I work nights, so if your head's in the sand and you didn't know, you've been asleep, you've been traveling, they haven't had any access to the news um, carriers or Sports Center or something like that. Micah Parsons, superstar pass rusher for the Dallas Cowboys, has been traded after much hand wringing, much back and forth, and he said, and all that sort of stuff. You kind of thought at the end of the day, a deal um, was going to be reached. I'm going to get in the middle of this. That's what I'm trying to do, kind of get in the middle. You thought that a deal was going to be reached. But about, I don't know, 3:30 today. I mean, I'm at work. I'm logging in, and I got to do a lot of, logging in different systems, different passwords to give you access to different things and stuff like that. And so, we come in at 3, and it's about maybe 3:15, 3:20. I about got all of my logins done and got all of my systems done, updated all of my stuff, updated my time sheet, did all that kind of stuff, which is stuff that I do as a routine for me, is what I do at work, right? So I can get my work day started. So my workmate next to me, he's a Cowboy fan too. Shout out to Jay. And Jay is one of those individuals, we talk sports pretty much every day in some capacity. Talk about the Cowboys. We talk about the NFL in general. We talk about the NFL. We talk about the WNBA. We talk about a lot of things. Sometimes we talk baseball. He's really a good sports guy to talk to. So, but he's one of those people that you got to initiate the contact. It's usually once you get him talking, you can't stop him. He's just going on and on and on, right? So I'm getting in and I'm logging in and everything. I'm putting all my stuff in and whatnot. And he reaches over and bumps my hand. I'm like, what was Jay want? What's up, man? Hey, man, he gone. The heck you talking about, man? Who gone? He said, Micah. They traded him. I'm like, get the F out of here, man. They traded him? I said, who, the Packers? He said, yep. He said, outside. So I'm like, well, what they get for him? He said, I don't know. At this point, we just know it's at least 2 draft picks, 2 first-round picks, and then, they're working on. I said, well, shoot. Now, to get a player like Micah, now I know, ain't no more Herschel Walker deals because, they used to this. The teams didn't have no rule of thumb as to like the value of for that sort of thing. A certain, a first round pick is worth this, second round pick is worth this, that sort of thing. They got a grading system on it. I think Jimmy Johnson and Mike McCoy came up with, right? So you're not gonna get like no 15. I'm being facetious here, but 5, 6 first round picks and two first, 2 seconds, a third, and a couple of players. You're not really gonna get that, not really no more. Teams are smarter now. They don't. So I said, well, we got 2 picks. Okay, 2 first round picks. I'm saying, All right, that's a good start. And then as the news started to trickle in, it's okay. We got 2 first-round picks. Defensive tackle Kenny Clark, and I'm like, okay, go on. And I think that's it. And I'm like, you got to be shitting me. That's all we got. For Micah Parsons, we got 2 first-round picks from a playoff team that's probably going to have a better record than us, and 1 player. I'm like, well, I'm like, shoot, they ain't asked for John. I mean, they ain't asked for Xavier McKinney. They ain't asked for Rashawn Gary. None of them dudes. They ain't asked for none of them dudes. Did they ask for Jordan Reed? Because my cousin TK, he had to call me to get me off the ledge because I was like, man, I couldn't get no work done. I'm like, man, really? Really? That's what we doing? I'm like, so anyway, um, so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, I would have got Xavier McKinney or I would have got Josh Jacobs. I'm getting one of them. They both Bama boys, so. Because we have problems with the run. I might would have traded one of our running backs to him. Hey, you can have Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. You might could. I ain't giving you Jaden Blue. All right, but you could have Phil Maffa. If I'm getting Josh Jacobs and whatever, I can get those. We can make out something. But they got Kenny Clark, and Kenny Clark's a 29-year-old, 3-time Pro Bowl defensive tackle that's pretty good against the run. And so I'm like, and so I was talking to my cousin TK, and he was like, man, I would have got one of them wide receivers because the Packers got a ton of wide receivers. They can't sign them all. You got Christian Watson, you got Jordan Woods. Yeah, and then you got Dontarian Wicks. Okay, Jordan Hicks, Dontarian Wicks, and then Jordan Woods, I think that's his name, number 11. He said, now that's the one you probably should have went after. He said because as soon as Micah comes to the Packers, he gonna have to come up off that 11. Yeah. So it matters what if you want to keep that 11, son. You can go on to the Cowboys. We'll trade you, and we'd have sent Jalen Tolbert on packing because we could have Jordan Reed. That's who it was. Jordan Reed. I'll get the names right directly. Jordan Reed, Dontarian Wicks, Christian Watson, and of course they drafted Savion Williams from TCU, and they also drafted Matthew Golden from Texas. So they got a ton of wide receivers. So yeah, I would have. Hey, can I get me one of them wide receivers that you're not gonna be able to sign that you're gonna have to trade off anyway? Um, I would have asked for one of them, but no, all they got was Kenny Clark. And Kenny Clark's a dude now. He can play. Now he's like I said, a 3-time defensive tackle. He comes in already a better defensive tackle than anybody we got. Yeah, I like Osa. Osa got $20 million, but I think Kenny Clark might be just a little better than him, right? But Kenny ain't got the upside that he is. He's about to turn 30. So sometimes on defensive linemen they start to wane after they get 30 and whatnot. And I think Osa's like 25. I guess. So he's still on that arc. And so with that being said, we got that done. They did that. So you're left to kind of think like what does this mean? How do you feel about that? First of all, should have got the deal done last year. You could have signed him last year, and before all the other contracts made it to the front there, you could have signed him. probably before Max Crosby signed, before Miles Garrett signed, before T.J. Watt signed, and all those dudes signed. And you might could have got him for $34, $35 million, which I'm not saying that's a bargain or anything. I'm just saying that any dollar you can save, that's fine. And soon as other guys sign, the dollar value of the market gets set higher and higher. And a lot of people who always say, "Well, I don't know if he's worth that much." It's not a matter of worth. It's a matter of what does the market say. It doesn't really matter how good you think he is. Now, personally, I think Micah's a top 10 player in the league. Now, I know the NFL's rankings got him at 36 and CD at 35. I think that's, because I think Micah was hurt four games last year and CD missed some games, still had 100 catches. And that me and that NFL, ESPN top 100, I've always had some contention with that, because you're not telling me that what's the kid from Michigan that the Houston Texans have at wide receiver. I can't think of his name. But you can't tell me he's better than CD Lamb. You can't tell me AJ Brown's better than CD Lamb. You can't tell me none of those guys better than CD Lamb. So it's what it is though. But anyway, so he gets traded, and it came. I mean, I know the thing's been going back and forth. They thought they had a deal, thought they had a handshake or whatever. It's okay, go over with it with my agent. And I tell people all the time now that, you can talk over the bold print, but the fine print, the experts got to go over that with what they call a fine-tooth comb, right? So, yeah, your agent got to be involved. Just like if I'm going to jail, I'm not talking to the police officers unless a lawyer is present. They even tell you that. It's called a Miranda rights, because you might say something, anything. You might think it's an innocent statement, but it could be used against you in a court of law. All right. And you not knowing all of the ins and outs about that, you might want to shut what they call the, what up, and let a professional tell you what you need to admit to, what you shouldn't admit to, what you should say, and what you should not say. Most time they tell you just be quiet. Don't say anything. So, Micah would want his agent to go over the fine tooth of the deal. It's just like I tell people all the time. I was telling one of my other workmates, man, and man, it was crazy at work today when we found out about that, because most of the people know, I love my Cowboys. Even the late girls that work there, the young ladies, some of them younger, 20 somethings or whatever, they all know. And I said, how you know I like the Cowboys? Because you got the Cowboy tab on the front of your truck. Okay, you got a Cowboy thing on your lanyard, on your thing that your access cards and stuff that you have on you, whatever, so that you can get in and out of the building, get in and out of various areas of the building and stuff. You got a Cowboy thing sitting right there. I was like, oh, okay. That star represents. I said, yeah, I ain't a complete dunce. I know that's the Cowboys, so all my workmates know that I love the Cowboys. And so one by one, they start walking over to my desk. Fred, I'm sorry, man. Dang, I don't know what to tell you, man. Y'all got, the ownership y'all got, man. Really, y'all are never gonna win with that. And I'm like, I've been saying that for years. I was just hoping at one point in time that maybe Jerry would come to the senses and be like, you know what, man, I'm 82 years old. I don't know how many more of these I got. I don't know if I got time to waste. I'm in my 50s and I think like that. I'm like, man, I don't know how many times. So when I have time to see people, time to, share things with people, time to spend with people, to, whatever, time to, and I know Mark Holmes says this all the time, tell the people you love them why you got a chance, because tomorrow you might have that chance. And as you get older, you start paying attention to that kind of stuff, right? Jerry, you 82 years old, man. You might not have too many more cracks at this thing, So I was waiting for that day. He's like, you know what, man, let's go all in, man. What I got to lose? I might not be here next year. Let's get this thing done, right? and then we pull this off. And then and so for me, if you want to ask me what I think the root cause of it is, and I think it's some on both of them's part. So a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of pride, a little bit of unwillingness to adapt, and I believe that's on both parts. Now, see, there's a thing with the Cowboys where I think they want every one of their players to sort of be country clubbish. You got to kind of assume that corporate persona. And I don't think Micah played with that too well. Okay, and so maybe Micah should have gave a little bit on that, maybe. But I really think that the Joneses really should have gave a little bit because, dude, you can't, you're not gonna win with 53 choir boys. You're just not. You're just not. It's just not gonna happen like that. You know, um, you're just not gonna have 53 choir boys, man, or 53. Like I think they expect everybody on the roster to be Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, what, never says nothing out of turn, very polished in his media. You can't get him to say nothing he don't want to say. He don't give you nothing. Completely polished, completely buttoned up. And I know y'all hate him, but as the CEO of the walk around CEO of the football team, which the quarterback is supposed to be, he wears that very well. Now you might say on Sundays he don't play that well with it. That's debatable. I would always argue that they don't give him enough tools, consumer with his skill level to operate with. You know, they operate with that as if he's Patrick Mahomes, is what I'm saying. And he's not Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes don't really got to have a running game. you know. Don't really have to have a whole gang of receivers, and he can make enough plays. Give him a tight end and whatever, and he can make plays. But even him, the last couple of years have not been good years for him. You know, thank God for Steve. God, what's his name? The defensive coordinator. Name just left me. Thank goodness for him because even last year they were the only team in the NFL to not score 30 points in a game. Okay, with Patrick Mahomes, couldn't score 30. The Carolina Panthers scored 30 in a game. Okay, um, and so yeah, and so yeah, and then even the year before, you could say whatever. Yeah, didn't they win that Super Bowl like 22-19, something like that? They gave up 19 points. Okay, Steve Spagnuolo, that's his name. Couldn't think of his name. So yeah, even he needs some help, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna, yeah, and so, but yeah, so maybe Micah didn't adopt the whole corporate structure, the whole thing, the whole buttoned up thing, I know a lot of people don't like that he had a podcast. I don't think Jerry had a problem with him having a podcast. That's just more media, more eyes on him. I hope he says something controversial because that'll mean more people talking about us. I want to be the first thing folks talk about on the news cycle every day. I'd rather do that than win ball games. I'll tell you that, but he told you that in the Netflix, press conference or whatever. If there ain't nothing going on, I like to get stuff stirred up. So, and then of course, I think Jerry insisted on everybody being choir boys, being country club esque. You're just not gonna have a bunch of those. Now, some portion of your team, you need to have some dogs on your team. Guys, just go get it. That you really don't want to see them after hours. Like, yeah, okay, we the game's over. I don't want to go where he's going. I'm going over here. But them 60 minutes behind them two white lines, oh yeah, that's my guy. And Micah might be one of those guys. Mozzie might be one of those guys, and there's guys like that. But So yeah, I think there's some arrogance, some an unwillingness to adapt, and sometimes people just stubborn. It's I'm gonna do it my way or whatever. And it's like I said before. And you could say it's Micah, it's Jerry, and it's David Mulagata. But I was like, now David Mulagata, his job is to get as much money as he can for his clients. And I know people are like, well, he don't have to take all the money. Well, I mean, as a fan of the Cowboys, I understand that sentiment. But if you step out from underneath that umbrella, you'll see that. Let me ask you this: you're a Cowboy fan, right? And Jerry can't make his money without you, right? He depends on you, right? He ever give you a break on the ticket prices? How about just a nice AT&T Stadium hot dog? I think them things go for like $25 for a hot dog. Okay. Now the same energy that you give Micah for being greedy, like he's greedy dad, Micah, these guys play that game with their bodies. They got a short amount of time to make generational wealth out of, and then they can't play anymore. That's an expiration date. Whereas Jerry's has been the owner through several generations of players that's come. There's players and played for him is 50 years old now. 20 or 30 years after they stopped playing. They ain't making the money they was making when they was playing, but Jerry's money still is the same. So I never am upset with players trying to make the money that they make, because in an instant, it could be all gone. Get hit the wrong way, it could be all gone. And just like these, and I don't want to call people idiots, but these people say, well, he's under contract. Yeah, he was under contract, but that means you just watch the games, don't understand the business of the game. I actually had on my video I did my welcome video, and I want to apologize for that. And I meant to take that down because my audio and stuff is messed up. I still don't have it right because this ain't really set up the way it's supposed to be, and I don't even know if y'all can hear me well or not. I'm praying that you can. But players don't like to play on the last year of a long-term deal, and generally they don't. I went through that first round of those deals, all of those deals of the players that got drafted in 2021. You know, it was Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and Trey Lance and, J.C. Horn, all these guys, Aaliyah Vera Tucker, and Jalen Phillips, Micah Parsons, Devontae Smith, to name a few. Quiddy Pay. There was a bunch of those dudes. I knew, it's 31 of them, right? And with the exception of Micah, I think at Vera Tucker, the guard from the New York Jets, and Jalen Phillips, and I think Travis Etienne, I think, who's the last pick of the 2021 draft, went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Everybody else had gotten their deal, and most of them had got their deals done last year. Okay. The reason being is that you don't want to play on the last year of a contract. Okay. You know why? Because that's kind of like trying to drive and you ain't got no insurance. Okay. You praying that you don't run into somebody, because you run in the back of somebody, your whole financial situation could be ruined if you get a hold of the right people. And there's these ambulance chasers that, the infomercials on TV and on your podcasts and YouTube videos every 5 minutes or whatever, they talk about that. Well, you been involved in an accident? Don't go to your insurance agency. Go to us. Go come see us. Right. Because an accident is probably $1,000. They're gonna make it $20,000. You gotta pay that. So yeah. So the next time you think Micah should have played on that fifth year option and with no years to go on, if something was to happen to him, because they're not, because Vera Tucker didn't get no contract because he had 2 season-ending injuries for the Giants, for the Jets. Jalen Phillips had an Achilles tear last year. He was going to get his money. But they ain't going to give it to him now. He's going to have to scuffle for his money now. So, yeah, it's just like driving without your insurance. I'm going to cancel my insurance. Okay, I hope you ain't planning on driving. So players don't play on the last years of their contract. You know, the job is too hazardous. They don't do that. Most of the time, that's not something they're wanting to do. They don't do that. That's just not done. And when you say like he should have done, that means you have no understanding of NFL contracts and the players and stuff, and quite frankly, probably have no care or concern for the players that play the game that you love to watch. And I know, I get it. I don't want to. I don't want to know or love the players. I just want to enjoy my football. I got that. I get it. All right. But in life, you know what happens? You evolve. Right? You evolve. The things you used to was doing, it's things I used to do in my 20s, I don't do now. I wouldn't think of doing it at 59. You know, I ain't doing that. I know better. You evolve. Your thought processes are better. You know, we as a people are better. There were things people were doing to other folks in the 60s you can't do now. And you shouldn't want to. All right? You know, once upon a time, you know, I would come home from, you know, if it was a time 40 years ago, I'd come home from work. Woman, where's my dinner? And she'd have to go get it together. But that's not cool. That ain't, you know, and I'm not, you know, and I'm a red pillar. I don't really, you know, side with, you know, women on all of their, you know, things. But I mean, I think you should be able to talk to people like they're human beings. So this idea that, like, you know, a friend of mine, shout out to, I think I might have said this last night, shout out to um, Lance, told me, you know, was telling me that, you know, he had to learn a long time ago that these players, you know, aren't, you know, they have issues too. They have marital issues, children issues, financial issues, you know, things going on. Sometimes they, you know, if you didn't handle your business right, you got somebody pregnant that wasn't supposed to be pregnant, you got to go to work that next day, whatever, and go play. And you got to put all that stuff aside and go play. Well, sometimes you can't just do that because you're a human being. You know, sometimes you got things going on your career. Something like not knowing if your contract is secure or not is something that you might make you not play as well as you would like. But I know we like to think they're Madden characters. Oh, just play, you know, and it's not like that. And I know I don't want to know the players. I just want to enjoy my game. I don't care who they. I don't care that they're having problems at the house. I don't even care if they hurt. I just want. Can you make the catch? Can you make that first down? Can you score? And I just would hope that as fans, we evolve from that. I mean, you don't see men dragging their wives down the street by their hair, do you? You know, we've evolved from that, right? You're supposed to have evolved, right? Um, so yeah, you know, no, he didn't want to play on the last year of his contract, you know. Um, you know, because the contract should have got done with a year on it. So it'd be an extension, you know. Because anything you plant the wrong way, and it could be all over, you know, and you know, so that's just what that's going. So what does this mean? Um, all I know is most teams don't, and I know people don't like Micah's attitude. Don't let that's fine, but the good teams that are going somewhere, whether they got a problem with a player or not, they shelve that stuff and they go on with their team. I'm gonna give you an example. Philadelphia Eagles don't like a lot of the stuff that Jordan Phillips, not Jordan Phillips, um, what's his name? Jalen Carter. You know, the defensive tackle they got from Georgia that was involved in the high speed racing that got 2 of his teammates killed, and the um, recruiting staffer from Georgia got killed and a player got killed. Yeah, that guy, you know, that's had some issues, fighting with his teammates, dust ups on the sidelines and stuff like that. I guarantee you the Philadelphia Eagles ain't trading Jalen Carter for no reason. They ain't trading him. Why? Because he is disruptive. on the field. We're gonna find out Monday night or Thursday night how disruptive Jalen Carter is. And I hope Tyler Booker, who basically said, I want to hit him because I remember playing against him at Alabama. You're going to get your wish because, he's one of them dudes. And he's going to get a $40 million bag too. And the Eagles are going to pay him. And they ain't going to say nothing about it. Okay? Because they know you might draft 10 times and not get a player disruptive or good on the front line like Jalen Carter. Okay? We take players for granted. You might never get another defensive player as good as Micah Parsons, regardless of how you think about him, regardless of how the front office might have thought he rubbed them or whatever. You might not ever get a player as good as Micah Parsons. Okay? And the fact you say, oh, just trade him this round. Yeah, you might draft 10 players in the first round and they may not be good as Micah. So, that's all I'm saying. Just over a little bit. So, I don't know, man. I just think we get spoiled and think you can just go get a guy. You can go get a CD Lamb. You can go get, you know how many, receivers we drafted that wasn't CD Lamb? Michael Gallup, uh, Cedric Wilson, Jalen Tolbert, um, um, uh, Flournoy, which Flournoy just got released for some dude named Tyler Keegan or something from the Eagles. So, third string offensive lineman. What are we doing, man? Now we got 4 wide receivers. I don't know what we're doing, man. I don't know. My cousin TK said, man, y'all experiencing what we call organizational mismanagement. Now, I'm going to tell you something. Y'all listen to me real good here. Y'all listen to me real good. This thing go left. What I mean by go left. We don't make the playoffs this year. And as I got on my crawl, the playoffs aren't a given right now. Now, with Micah on our team and him, steadying that pass rush, the pass rush ain't going to be the same. A lot of those guys, your Dante Fowlers, your Donovan Ezeraku, and all those guys, James Houston, all those guys, Marshawn Nealon, all those guys that we think are going to be able to get to the pass, go get to the pass or whatever. A lot of them guys are getting there because Micah is being double teamed. They ain't got double team nobody now. So we'll see how that works. Um, but so so yeah, you traded away him and to do what now? Of course, now I listened to some of that bullish of a press conference by Jerry and Steven. And the thing of and acting like this, it's arduous for them to sit there and answer questions about that. And shout out to John, what's his name? John. He's on the Cowboy Collective. Now I say, here's Johnny. Shout out to him for asking the tough questions. Because they tried to make it like, well, we had to stop the run. And I'm like, that's cap. I got to talk like the young folks now. That's cap, right? You ain't ever been interested in stopping the run. You know why I know that? Because you got $31 million of cap room right now, and you could have went and got you a defensive tackle. If you wanted Kenny Clark, you could have got Kenny Clark. You could have sent them a 4th-round pick. They'd have gave you Kenny Clark. Since you like giving up 4th-round picks. You could have had you Kenny Clark if that's all it took. You could have did that without having to give up Micah. Of course, you got to pay him. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is what nobody's getting. You're a $12.3 billion operation. Why are you acting like you're the Tampa Bay Rays? You're the football equivalent of the New York Yankees. Why are you acting like you're the Tampa Bay Rays? What do the Tampa Bay Rays? The Tampa Bay Rays are the farm system of the New York Yankees. Not literally, but what happens, players go there, not just the Yankees, I think the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are the spenders now, but back in the day it used to be the Yankees, and then they still spend. Judge got some money. Giancarlo Stanton, got some money, and they didn't want to pay Juan Soto, so he went to the Mets and went across town. Yeah, I know baseball too. Don't mess with me. I know my sports. Um, but you're the freaking the Dallas Cowboy Yankees. Why are you acting like the Tampa Bay Rays? Like you don't have money to spend. Like you don't, um, because I guarantee you the Eagles ain't never coming up short for a player they want to keep. They're keeping them. Same thing with the 49ers. And you start looking at the other teams that are championship level teams, you're talking about the Chiefs, you're talking about the Eagles, you're talking about the Lions, you're talking about the 49ers. Trust me, they're going to bounce back. And now the Packers. Packers have played Jordan Love $55 million. His agent is also Dave Mulligetta. And they shot Josh Jacobs like a $13-14 million contract, which is a lot for a running back. Now they didn't sign Micah Parsons. Then they signed Xavier McKinney for like a 13-14, which is a lot for a safety last year. So they're spending money too. Okay. And they're usually one of the more conservative teams, but they realize Jordan Love ain't, you got a window here. You got those great receivers. You got those good tight ends. Musgrave and I can't think the other guy's name, Luke Musgrave, and so yeah, you got some players there, and Adrian Cooper, the guy from Texas A&M that they got last year in the first round of the draft, second round of the draft, linebacker. I wanted him out of Texas A&M. So they got a nice young nucleus, right? And they drafted Matthew Golden and, like I said, Savion Williams this year. They got a ton of receivers. They got a nice young team, right? So yeah, we better spend the money now while we're in this window, right? They think they can catch Detroit, and who's to say they're wrong, right? And you got to spend money to do that, right? So and then you look at the Lions, or they get ready. Hutchinson get ready to get paid. They just paid Penei Sewell, and then paid Jared Goff. They paid David Montgomery. They paid Amon-Ra St. Brown. They get, like I said, they paid Keelan McNeil. It's a bunch of players that they got, man. They've already paid, good money for it. And I know I'm missing somebody too. I want to say that the center retired though. He retired. That's right. Ragnar. Ragnar. Yeah, he retired. So, but yeah, the 49ers, they're paying Trent Williams, Brock Purdy now, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. They just got rid of Deebo Samuels, but they still got guys or whatever on defense. Bosa, Brett Hoff from the Eagles, Fred Warner, Mafunga. I mean, what's the Tre'Darius Ward used to be a Cowboy. Many don't know that, but yeah, I mean, if you want to play, you got to pay. That's kind of the way that thing goes. You can't. Well, 47 million is a little too much for. Was it too much for the Packers? Last time I checked, the Packers ain't got your billfold. They ain't got your money coffers. They're a mom and pop team, right? They was willing, and they couldn't wait to pay Micah 47 million. And this is something me and TK said. Like, look, you drafted Micah, right? You scouted him. You drafted him. He's played for you 4 years. You know him inside and out, right? Know what schemes work with him and what don't. At least I think you do. At least you didn't. You didn't at first, because they didn't know what to do with him when they got him. That's one of our problems too. We don't really commit to a scheme and just stick with it. We run different coordinators in and out of there, and all of them got different schemes. And I was arguing with my boy Smiley, DJ Smiley, the other day. He's a big Steeler fan. We was arguing about TJ versus Micah, and I'm like, well, the thing is, Micah they really didn't know how to use him. The only reason they used him as a pass rusher is that DeMarcus Lawrence got hurt, got his foot hurt in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game in the practice leading up to the second week. And well, let's try you at pass rusher. Let's see. And he hit. We didn't know what to do with him. We hadn't adopted a scheme for him. Meanwhile, TJ plays the same scheme he played when he's in Wisconsin because the Steelers are smart to plug guys in that fit, that play the scheme that they play. So it's, hey, I'm doing exactly what I was doing in college. So it's not whereas Micah's like, oh, okay, kid, this is, we're figuring this stuff out as we go. So, but he's your best player. And you've groomed him. You drafted him. You groomed him. He's homegrown. And he's 26. Nobody should be willing to give him more money than you should. But the Packers don't know nothing about him except what they found on the scouting report. And they found out, oh, he available? Shoot, let's hook that up. And couldn't wait to give him $47 million. Now, are they crazy? I don't know. But I'm willing to go with a team that'll spend money to try. I mean, at least you're trying. Okay? At least you're trying, And that should be just like, I'm going to give you a basketball analogy. That'd be just like the Golden State Warriors saying, oh, we don't want to give Steph Curry $50 million. Well, I mean, he don't play defense. He's just shoot. He's smallish. He can't play defense. He don't, he shoot, and that's about it. Yes. But he's your homegrown player. He's your best player. The crowd, everything gets frenzied when he's at the Chase Center. I know that because, that's one of my teams that I root for. And yeah, he's our guy. We're going to pay him. We're behind him. He's our best player. We're going to pay him. That's the way it's supposed to be. These fans are like, oh, I don't want to pay him that much money. Dude, who you going to pay it to? I mean, you got to pay somebody. Right? I just don't understand fans not wanting teams to pay their best players. I don't understand that. I'd rather pay my best player than lose him. He's winning for somebody else. They hosting up Lombardi's, going deep in the playoffs, and I'm going home after the 16-17 game. But still go Cowboys. You know how stupid that sounds? And I'm not trying to call nobody stupid, but I mean, sometimes you got to get a hold of yourself. So what does this mean as we close this video? Now, I do believe Cowboys as a whole will be better against the run, but I think we'll lose something against the pass. I just don't think the pass rush is going to be there as it was. I think Micah commanded double teams. He kept offensive coordinators up at night trying to figure out, okay, we got to make sure we chip him. We got to make sure we put a tight end and a running back on him or he'll wreck shop. All right? And And I believe Jordan Love has something to do with it. I'm sure he was in Micah's ear. They agent mates. Here's what I think. I think we'll be better against the run, but I think we'll not be as good against the pass. I think some of those guys we got in our drafted, second and third year, and some of the guys we got, I think they're gonna need some seasoning to be able. That's the thing with the Cowboys. You want rookies and first year guys to be like the star. They got to step up, and I'm like, no, they need to take their normal progression. You depend on your vets, okay? Somehow we just like the young players, and it's like you think young players are gonna just. And sometimes you get a young player like a Micah, like a CD that get it and take off running. Most times the young players need a year or two. Can I interest you in a Mozzie Smith going on year 3? And people still think not understanding that defensive tackles take 3 years to mature. They take longer to bake than, say, a running back or a wide receiver. Wide receivers come in the lead. Go route, dig route, comeback route, slant route, sluggo route. I got you, coach. On them bubble screens, I'll block on this one. I catch the pass on this one when I'm on the other side. I got you, coach. And you do your thing. Running back, hit that hole. Cut it back when they over pursue. I got you, coach. But sometimes defensive tackles, what did um, Hankins say? Mozzie is the strongest guy on the team, but he don't know how to use his strength. He said, now I'm the strongest on the field because I know how to use my strength. And they didn't allow Hankins to stay with Mozzie long enough to start to implement those things into his game. You need mentors in this game. And the Cowboys don't believe in that. They believe, hey, hell, he just need to get it. He got to step up. He got to step up. CD got to step up. But you took Amari Cooper away from him 2 years into the thing, you know. So CD had to figure it out on his own, which is fine. Now he gets to mentor George Pickens if we allow him to stay. Now, that's not going to be a given because his agent is who? You got it, David Mulugata. And David Mulugata probably got a bad taste in his mouth from dealing with Jerry on the Micah thing. So I wouldn't look for that to be an easy goal. So I don't know, about George Pickens. I would love for them to sign George Pickens. See, if they were smart, they go and try to sign him now. Now you got about $40 million left over because you ain't signed Micah. Go give him like a $18 million contract, a 4-year, $90 million contract. And see what he say. Go on and do it now. Get it out the way now. Go ahead and sign Deron Bland. Go ahead and sign Tyler Smith and get that out the way. But you're not gonna do that. You'll drag those on out. I haven't seen this movie before, right? But what does this mean? So at the beginning of the season, I was like, man, if we can just get a couple of defensive tackles, we can kind of just be competent against the run. I said, man, this team can get back where they were. They can get back to 12 wins. They can get back to winning. I don't know about winning the division. I think the Eagles going to fall off just a little bit. I still think they're a great team. I just think they may not be as good as you can't lose a Milton Williams, lose a Josh Sweat. And there were some other players, C.J. Gardner Johnson, and they got young guys at the cornerback positions, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. They young, man. They young, and they got young safeties, and so, and I like, what's the kid's name from Athens? He from Athens, man. He from my area of the woods in Alabama. He from, I can't think of that safety's name, but he gonna get cooked by Jake Ferguson. Yeah, he's gonna get cooked. So they can be had. All right, they can be had. I promise you, they can be had. But as long as they got, Saquon, Devontae and AJ, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts, that big, strong offensive line, and it's 3rd and 2, they can always push. They're gonna be tough to beat. But they may not be as dominant as they were last year. And I think we could, if we had not did what we did today, I'm thinking, yeah, we're gonna play against them. We're not scared of them. But we'll see, because I think we're gonna be better against the run against them. But is that gonna be enough? Maybe they change it now. Oh, we're gonna throw against them now because they ain't got no pass rush. We'll see. The playoffs aren't a given now. TK said, I think y'all win 7 games. He said, because even with a bad team, Dak is good enough to win 8 games, 7, 8 games. And that just puts you right in the middle where you get, middle of the pack draft picks. And if you're going to be bad, just be bad all the way. Then if you're going to do all of that, if you're not going to sign Micah, then you probably shouldn't have signed CD and Dak. Then just go all the way and just tank for Arch for 2026 and just start over. Clean the decks. But you don't want to do that because you don't have the expertise to build a team correctly. Now, I'll let Howie Roseman start from scratch. I'll let John Lynch start the team from scratch. Brett Veach. What's the guy from Les Snead? I'll let them guys start from scratch. But I'm not letting Jerry and Steven start from scratch. From drafting a quarterback and everybody's green. No. This ain't Jimmy Johnson. This ain't Jimmy Johnson. So I don't know. And the thing I think people ain't thinking about is the psychological effect. And that's the thing that people, when they don't understand that players are human beings, what kind of effect you think it's going to have on these players going in the LP field, knowing their best player ain't with them, and they got to play this juggernaut of a team called the Eagles? How do you think they're going to, how do you think they're going to feel psychologically? Because I think a lot of them players feel like they got the rug pulled from under them. I bet they do. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. And you got a first-time head coach. I mean, I feel sorry for Brian Schottenheimer because he didn't sign up for this. Matt Eberflus, I feel sorry for him. He didn't sign up for this. Right? But anyway, man, it's about 3 o'clock, 3:20. Been on about 50 minutes. I had to vent. I'm a Cowboy fan at heart. And, my feelings is hurt right now, but it's still go Cowboys and yuck them Eagles every day, and twice on Sunday. Right? I'm Cowboy down. But I ain't gotta like, I'll eat it, but I ain't gotta like it. That's what I used to tell my mama. You eat your food, eat them vegetables. Yeah, mama, I'm gonna eat it, but I ain't gotta like it. Anyway, man, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel as I try to move towards monetization here. I'm gonna need some. I'm gonna need some people, man. I'm gonna need some people to help a brother out, man. Try to need y'all to, if you can't do that, send me some Cash App money because I don't have the super chats because you got to be monetized for you can have the super chats and stuff like that, But anyway, man, it's a sad day for the Cowboys. But it's going to be a better day, man. It's going to be a better day. And I promise you, when the games kick off, I'm going to be thinking about this in the back of my mind, but I'm gonna still be excited when the game's played because it's nothing like watching a Cowboys game on a Saturday, Sunday, or Thursday, or whenever day they play. Still ain't nothing like it. It's still something to behold, and I love watching them. Sometimes I don't like how they make the sausage. Yeah, sometimes I don't like how they make the sausage, but anyway, man, probably I'll come on again tomorrow and talk a little bit. Because it's a lot to deal with right now as a Cowboy fan. So again, like, comment, subscribe, become a part of the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. Guarantee you will not be disappointed. I'll catch you guys the next time around.